Hello and welcome to What the Health, a podcast exploring compassion and self-care in healthcare. I'm Dr. Funke Akiboye, a consultant physician interested in health and well-being. I feel that many of us in healthcare have lost the way to being well ourselves. Through sharing my observations and experiences, I hope to provide food for thought and create a conversation around this topic. In this very first episode, The Other Side of the Fence, I talk about being confronted with an illness of my own and share some of the resulting insights that I gained. I hope you enjoy. It's the day before I return to work as a medical consultant in a teaching hospital. In the 3 weeks since I last set foot on a ward, the world has changed. The UK has been pushed first into social distancing, then into a light lockdown as COVID-19 has ignored 51% of Brits who voted Brexit, violated all visa restrictions and made an unscheduled, unwelcome visit to these shores. However, as the world went into panic and crisis, my last 3 weeks have been spent in solitary confinement, having an internal crisis as I received treatment for a health condition of my own. This is the first real illness I have ever had, the first time I've needed to seek NHS help in any way. And like a seasoned high achiever, I think I exceeded expectations in reinforcing the stereotype that doctors or healthcare professionals in general make the worst patients. To give some context, I specialise in diabetes and endocrinology, which I see as craftful wizardry to rebalance hormones and restore the normal functions of the body. Outside of medicine, I try to ensure my well-being with regular meditation, yoga, massages, creative outlets, and have had acupuncture. I'm basically 2 shades off a rainbow trouser-wearing hippie. I believe in the body's ability to heal itself if we stop assaulting it, whilst still considering myself a scientist and believing in well-conducted studies and evidence. My mother is a researcher after all. I fully expect to live beyond my 100th year with the ability to enjoy dancing and keep young folk on their toes mentally. I thought my body was on board with Plan A, so it felt like a complete betrayal to develop a problem before even reaching the halfway mark. It started as a small spot on my back, but doubled in size every day, and I went through the 5 stages of grief Elizabeth Kubler-Ross describes in her 1969 book on death and dying. 1. Denial. It's just a spot that feels like I'm being tasered in the back several times a day, so I'll just carry on as usual. 2. Anger. Okay, this is not right, so what is it? And what is it doing on me? I cannot believe how many people have seen me in a hospital gown now. There needs to be a secret side entrance for staff as patients, especially consultants. What about my confidentiality? 3. Bargaining. Days later, after the first procedure hadn't helped. I'm sure it looks like it needs another operation, but I can't have a general anaesthetic and stay overnight because I've borrowed a friend's car. So I'll just take some antibiotics and get a friend to dress it. Yeah. Probably a musician. 4. Depression. Days later, after conceding to a second operation, this phase was most difficult as I attended the practice nurse daily to have the wound packed. What appeared like a simple task of pushing absorbent material into the wound turned out to be the most painful experience I can recall. It felt like the raw wound was being packed with the material from one of those deceptively soft-looking jumpers that then feel like wire wool on the skin. Once packed, the sensation was at best like a biro nib pressing in my back. During this period, the country applauded NHS staff for their hard work and dedication. Meanwhile, I sat at home feeling guilty for having contributed nothing over the preceding 2 weeks. A stern word with my body to heal faster so I could get back to the business of doctoring was met the next day with a second spot. I had the full intention of returning to work on my bike as lockdown had ended access to my friend's car. I could get the wound packed at work, possibly at the end of my day. Sure, that would work. The stages of grief don't have to come in order, and I jumped between anger, bargaining and depression several times a day, like a game of hopscotch, but without the scotch, which is a shame as it may have helped the pain more than the medication I received. Finally, I arrived at stage 5, acceptance. I conceded that if I wasn't well enough to dress myself within 10 minutes, I probably wasn't well enough to cycle into work, lead a clinical team and decide on patient care. I also had to hear this as a warning shot from my body that it requires more than the occasional decadent meal to get us to 100. Each day after a gratitude practice, I meditate and connect with my mind and body through yoga. I then spend 8 to 13 hours becoming vitamin D deficient in hospital, which I treat like kind of Tough Mudder Ultra, and I know I'm not alone in this approach. Lunch has typically been around 2:30 at the earliest with my current team. And by that point, even some of the hospital cabbage and custard combined smell can get my stomach calling out. Consuming fluids is inefficient as it wastes time on toilet breaks. So I've become skilled at taking one drink before leaving home, mindlessly pushing food into my lower face hole, and occasionally squeezing out a few golden crystals from my bladder, which has no liquid to work with. I've wondered if I'm so institutionalised that I should take vitamin D supplements. So I phoned in sick for the first time in my career and life. And from somewhere, my body found a few molecules of H2O to push out of my tear ducts. My surgical wounds are healing. But now I begin healing the lack of self-compassion that is too common in this culture of medicine. There's a saying, beware the naked man who offers you a shirt. Doctors are burning out and bailing out of medicine in huge numbers. If we can all cultivate some compassion, I believe that it can be a more sustainable career. They say put your own mask on before helping others. I really hope we don't run out of masks. Thank you for listening to What the Health. I would love to hear from you. Do you recognise yourself on the other side of the health fence as a nightmare patient? Are you feeling guilty for not being on the front line at this time? Or is there something I touched on that you would like me to explore further? Please share your thoughts in the comment box below. If you liked the episode, please share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing this. Until next time, take care of yourself.